Thanks very much for staying with us. Time now for Africa News with me, Georgia Calvin-Smith. Tonight, outspoken critic of Nigeria's institutional corruption, Lamido Sanusi has been suspended. The president accuses the respected central bank governor of misconduct amidst his warnings of a missing $20 billion from the state oil company. Also, 8 of 20 journalists accused of supporting Egypt's banned Islamist group, the Muslim Brotherhood, are in custody at the start of their Cairo trial. It's adjourned as freedom of speech activists condemn the proceedings. And getting South Africa's Zulus to change their spots. Conservationists worried about dwindling numbers of leopards encourage tribesmen to sport fake fur for their traditional ceremonies. First up, Nigeria's president has suspended the central bank governor who revealed that $20 billion in revenue from the state oil firm had gone missing. The government accused Lamido Sanusi, an outspoken critic of institutional corruption, of misconduct.
When President Goodluck Jonathan suspended Lamido Sanusi on Thursday, Nigeria's currency, the naira, fell. As central bank governor, Sanusi has won international respect. His suspension comes only a few days after he said the state oil firm, NNPC, couldn't account for billions of petrodollars.
There is a $20 billion that has not come back. The burden of proof is on NNPC. But we have made suggestions that we question some of those explanations, and we believe that even some of that which has gone to MPDC does not belong to MPDC, but to the Federation.
Asked if his suspension was politically motivated, Sanusi said, "I think the answer to that is obvious." Analysts question the timing of Jonathan's decision.
I think it's coming at the wrong time, sending the wrong signals. This is a man who is supposed to retire or resign in another 3 months by June. His tenure is supposed to expire. And he has indicated, unlike other Nigerians, that he was not interested in seeking a second term.
Some analysts said the president wanted to install a governor who may look the other way if the ruling party tries to dip into the public purse ahead of next year's election.
Well, for more on this, we're now joined by Mr. Sanusi. He's currently in Lagos. Mr. Sanusi, thanks very much for joining us. So when you started pitching yourself against some of the most politically and economically powerful sections of Nigerian society, you must have been expecting some kind of backlash. So does this come as a surprise to you?
This is the suspension. No, not really. I did expect that there would be some reaction to the kinds of things that I've been doing over the last 2 years. I've always said that there would be a backlash. I didn't know what form it would take. I suppose from the day the president called me, asked me to resign, I knew that the handwriting was on the wall. So I wasn't totally surprised there.
So what reasons have you been given for your suspension? Have you been reckless, financially reckless or responsible for any misconduct, in your opinion?
Well, it's funny anyway that such a word will be used about the central bank for a number of reasons. First of all, the central bank has been the greatest contributor to the internally generated revenue of government among MGAs in the last 5 years since I've been governor. I have consistently reduced operating costs. I've consistently given returns from surpluses from the central bank. Just last week, our audited accounts were concluded, and this year they're getting about $1 billion from last year's surplus from the CBN. The allegations are, to me, very strange, especially when you compare with what's happening in the country. Certainly, they have no basis. But, you know, this is a country where just a week ago, the oil company and the oil minister in front of the Senate, in front of national television, admitted that they spent billions of dollars without appropriation on a subsidy on a product that was not subsidized. And nobody has called that financial recklessness. The national oil company has not been audited since 2005. It's not been called financial recklessness. We are audited by international audit firms every year. The audit for 2013 is already done, to be approved next week by the board, by PwC and Ernst & Young. I do not understand I think these are just the kind of charges you put up to give a dog a bite in order to hang it.
So it doesn't sound like you're particularly convinced by the government's commitment to tackling corruption in state institutions or companies.
No, I don't think so. I don't think there has been any serious commitment, and this is really the issue, isn't it? I mean, it's fine to, it's good to speak about it, but in the case of NNPC, my view has always been that my position was not even an anti-corruption issue. I was interested because as governor of the central bank, I had responsibility for I do have responsibility for managing the exchange rate. I do have responsibility for managing our reserves. And it simply doesn't make sense to me that at a time when oil price is at $110 and above, and we're producing 2.3 million barrels a day, we should be running down our excess crude savings. It simply doesn't make sense. The numbers don't add up. All revenues have been crashing without any change in oil price. And therefore, the questions I was asking were questions that were tied to my work.
Now, bearing that in mind, one trader that we've spoken to has actually said that you were the face of Naira's stability. We've already seen news of your suspension affect Nigerian markets today. What, in your opinion, is the likelihood of it continuing to affect Nigeria's economy in the short or medium term?
You know, I'm governor of Central Bank, and whatever happens after today, even if I cease to be governor, the last thing I would want is to say anything that would create any form of instability in Nigeria. The country is bigger than me. It's bigger than Goodluck Jonathan. It's bigger than any individual. I hope that the central bank will continue to pursue a policy that aims at keeping the Naira stable. I'm very much convinced that a weak currency will not be good for us. It's not good for the capital markets. It's not good for the banks. It's not good for imports. It's not good for inflation. Now, I also do know that with the best of intentions, the central bank can only maintain this stable Naira exchange rate policy if we rebuild the fiscal buffers. And those buffers will not be built so long as we continue to have the leakages and the hemorrhage in the official oil sector, which is why this issue has been such a big issue for me.
Mr. Sanusi, just quickly, where do you go from here?
Right now, enjoying a small holiday. It's a big burden off my head. I've been tired. I think, as I said all the time, I've achieved everything I set out to achieve. I was going to leave on the 1st of June anyway. There's nothing that I haven't done that I would have done in 3 months. I'm going to find my way to France when I have a chance, because I've already planned anyway to spend time in Bordeaux, strengthening my French, and from there go to China to study Mandarin. So those plans are still on, but a lot depends on what the government does from here. As you know, my passport has been held at the airport by the State Security Services, so I don't know what the plan is. So we'll wait and see.
Thank you very much. Mr. Lamidou Sanusi there seemed to be dealing quite well with news of his suspension as the governor of the Nigerian Central Bank. Moving on, in other news, critics say that journalism itself is in the dock. The trial of 20 journalists from the Al Jazeera news organisation opened in Egypt on Thursday. They're accused of broadcasting false reports after police shut down their offices during the overthrow of Islamist President Mohamed Morsi last July.
While the case against Al Jazeera is adjourned, defense lawyers continue to prepare the case.
We asked that they be released pending investigations, and we also asked to question all witnesses, and we demanded to question the technical committee that examined the equipment which was seized.
Peter Grest, Mohammed Fahmy and Bahar Mohammed face charges including endangering national security. They've already spent more than 50 days of detention in Egypt's Tora prison. On Thursday, they pleaded not guilty to all charges. A total of 20 people await trial, including 9 employed by Al Jazeera.
We believe we will be acquitted. The lawyers are fully on board with us. They fully believe in our case. They fully believe that we were just operating as journalists. We don't have an agenda. We've got nothing against Egypt. We certainly don't lie or do biased reporting.
Al Jazeera's journalists are accused of aiding or joining the Muslim Brotherhood, considered by authorities to be a terrorist group. The journalists were seized in a raid at a Cairo hotel in December while reporting for Al Jazeera's English news channel. Prosecutors say they manipulated footage and supported the Muslim Brotherhood, which was banned after Mohamed Morsi was deposed last July. Demonstrators have shown solidarity with detained journalists in Egypt and abroad. The court has postponed the case until March 5th.
Political tensions are on the rise in Democratic Republic of Congo. Our correspondent tells us that at least one person has been crushed to death as thousands of people fled shots fired by security forces on Thursday. Crowds had gathered for a rally of one of President Joseph Kabila's main rivals, Vital Kamerhe. Supporters of the former ally of the president stampeded in panic when police opened fire in the eastern town of Bukavu. Kamerhe has accused Kabila of trying to quash dissent ahead of elections in 2016. Well, there's been a poor turnout for Libya's election for a 60-member assembly that will be charged with drafting the country's new constitution. By late afternoon, only 360,000 of the 1 million people registered to vote had turned out. It's a reflection of widespread political disillusion with the transitional government that took over after the 2011 revolution. Now, it's struggled to get a handle on security across the country. Dawn explosions rocked 5 polling stations in the eastern town of Derna. No one was hurt, but the incident does highlight the government's challenges in re-establishing the rule of law. Well, that's all we have time for this hour. Stay with us, and we'll be back in an hour for more on the thousands of worshippers at a traditionalist Zulu church who dress in leopard skins to perform a trance-like dance. But with fewer than 7,000 leopards left in South Africa, conservationists have persuaded members of the Shembe church to wear fake fur to protect the threatened species. We'll be having a full report on that in about 45 minutes when I return. Stay with us, though. Short break, and my colleagues will be bringing you more news and headlines from around the world. Take care.